joy to be with you, and at this time, especially to have this wonderful opportunity to be sharing from the life of Paramahansa Yogananda. And really, I think as we have this time of the centennial of the anniversary of his arrival in America, it gives us an impetus, encouragement to attune our consciousness to his, um, to learn from his life, how he lived and what he taught, but also to experience attunement to that higher state of consciousness. As his consciousness and his example can inspire us to awaken fully, can really challenge us to break through our self-made barriers and support us to realize our highest goals in life and to not get sidetracked. He did all of that and more, and he dedicated his life to showing us how we can do it too. That was really his purpose, his dharma. It's what led him to America. He came to give us the greatest gift that he had ever received in life, which was the liberating teachings of Kriya Yoga, a scientific method of self and God realization. Kriya Yoga, as many of you know, is a universal approach to discovering the nature of ultimate reality, the truth of what we are as spiritual beings, knowing that, realizing it, experiencing it for ourselves, and then understanding what the mind is. And we're not the mind. What is the mind, and how can we use it to live a wise, divinely inspired, thriving, joyful life? Paramahansa Yogananda wrote, "In the vault of the mind lie all the chains of bondage, as well as the keys to freedom." In the vault of the mind lie all the chains of bondage, as well as the keys to freedom. We have the keys, he said. It's a matter of finding them and using them. When we do, we discover a vast reservoir of inner power beyond our current imagining. Learn to use your mind creatively and thrive. Now, I think it's fair to say that right now, many of us understandably feel held back, constrained, detained, frustrated, worried, and upended by grave circumstances. And we could surely use a vast reservoir of inner power to break through our fears and our struggles. And sometimes I think during this time, just to break through our complacency of waiting until this time is over so we can get on with our life. I like to note that in his quote about thriving, that there is no conditional clause. In other words, he doesn't say, learn to thrive and it will happen when conditions allow it. He doesn't say it that way. He simply says, learn to use your mind creatively and thrive, and that we have the keys to that. So I want to take a few minutes to look at what these keys are that he's referring to. Where do we find them, and how do we unlock our freedom to thrive regardless of debilitating circumstances? Let's start with the chains themselves that he refers to. The chains of bondage are forged by ignorance of our true nature. That's the basic teaching. The chains of bondage are forged by ignorance of our true nature. They are then linked together by misguided thoughts and actions that shape our character and then our destiny. The keys to freedom are self-knowledge and self-realization, discovering what we are through our discernment and through our direct experience of that truth of our being. Living by that knowledge is using that key to actualize our inner power. Now, this method for self-realization is outlined in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And the first 4 verses in that treatise give us the keys. So I want to state them simply this morning in a way that relates especially to this lesson about the nature of the mind. So the first sutra says, pay attention, pay attention. This moment is ripe for spiritual awakening. So no matter what point in time you come to this teaching, it says, pay attention. This is your moment. Not later, not when this is over. This is your moment. It is ripe for spiritual awakening. Second sutra says yoga, which means conscious union of the self with the higher reality, the larger true self. Yoga, or self-realization, is control or restraint of thought activity. Yoga is control or restraint of thought activity. 3, when thoughts are restrained, when they subside, then our attention and awareness is free to realize our essential nature as spiritual beings. What we are is revealed by itself when thoughts no longer interfere. And the 4th sutra says, otherwise, our awareness is bound up in thoughts, and we are distracted from that realization of the truth. Yoga teaches us that we're not the mind, but we are the witness of the mind. We do not, therefore, have to be in bondage to the mind with its fears and its limitations and its moods and even its inspirations. We are free to change the focus of our thoughts. So at any time, we can change our focus, change our mind. We can elevate our thoughts. And we can shift our awareness to experience our spiritual essence that is beyond thought, beyond mind. And that second way is how we tap into our unlimited inner power. So we are free to change the focus of our thoughts. That's number 1. Then we can shift our awareness also to experience our spiritual essence that is beyond thought activity. And that's the way that we tap into our unlimited divine inner power. So here's the formula. Number 1, don't let thoughts drag you down. Don't let thoughts drag you down. Number 2, regularly lift awareness beyond thought to experience the divine self. Now, I know, because I've experienced it, it can be tempting to spend time worrying, watching news, scanning the internet, checking our phone, working too much, or distracting ourselves in various ways, looking for information, what's happening now, looking for help or support. But there is a time-tested way to tap into that inner power that we need to thrive right now. And you know what? It's so simple. This time-tested way is so simple that many dismiss it. What is it? I'm sure you guessed by now. Meditate. Meditate. Let your mind get clear so you can experience and connect directly to your inner power. Simple. Spend time every day in silence. Commune with God in the silence of your soul. And I know many of you already meditate. And so this message for you is meditate more. Meditate more and meditate more deeply. Paramahansa Yogananda said, where others leave off in meditation, I am just beginning. So a reminder, at the center, we are broadcasting meditation Pacific time, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time every day. So that can support you in getting in the routine. If you haven't had one, or if you've fallen off your meditation wagon, it can help you come back. And if you say, if you're in Pacific time, I'm not a morning person, then you also have 4 o'clock in the afternoon to choose from. So go online and meditate with the group, experience that group energy, and mostly let it support you in getting your routine steady so that you're meditating every day, no matter what. So not only, of course, do we remove stress this way, but we begin to experience harmony with the infinite. And I really know no better way to do that. So while we are attuning our consciousness to Paramahansa Yogananda during this special time, meditation is key to that, to opening our own mind to higher inspiration. So with meditation, we can tap into this experience of harmony with the infinite. So instead of merely operating at the level of thinking mind and intellect, what happens is our faculty of intuition begins to open, and we start having insights that are uplifting. Our new understandings and synchronous connections will happen so that we actually feel we are divinely supported. We experience being in the flow instead of treading water, or worse, flailing about or sinking. So even now, especially now, life can be lived from our calm center of inner power and divine dignity. Even now, especially now, life can be lived from our calm center of inner power and divine dignity. It is within our power to decide what occupies the mind. What do we allow to occupy our mind? What do we invite in and entertain? Now, we don't have control over what arises in the environment or what thoughts arise in the mind, but we certainly have control over what we will entertain. So we have to ask, does it contribute to peace of mind, to freedom? Does it invite divine realization and connection to my inner power? Does it lift me up or drag me down? It's up to us. During this centennial celebration, I'm reading many stories of the life of Yoganandaji, rereading his autobiography and books written by his disciples. And this week, I have been reading some selections from a book called The Flawless Mirror, written by Kamala Silva, a disciple who met Yoganandaji in 1925, and she was just 19 years old. Later, she was ordained by him, the first female minister that he ordained here as part of his organization. And she started the first center in Northern California. And on this day, September 27th in 1949, she held the first formal meeting of Yogananda's Bay Area group at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. So I want to share with you just a little bit from her writing about the first time she saw Yogananda, and then also the guidance that he gave her. She writes, "There are crossroads in life which change the entire direction of travel. There are crossroads in life which change the entire direction of travel. This was the hour of seeing my guru. His precepts were to highlight my journey upon a way that led heart and thoughts Godward. On the evening of January 13th, 1925, eventful date, the Philharmonic Auditorium in Los Angeles was full to its 3,000 capacity. The lines of people had queued around the building for great distances, waiting for the doors to open. By 7 p.m., there was no more seating space for the hundreds who were still there. This was repeated each evening for many weeks. All had gathered to hear a certain emissary from India. From that land where sages have been nurtured, we were to know one of her most illumined. Swami Yogananda came upon the platform, his orange robe identifying him with an ancient order of renunciates. My spontaneous first impression was youthfully expressed in my diary. His smile is like the sunshine of a soul. It was joyous and conveyed a warmth that seemed to envelop everyone. I observed his gentle dignity and the reserve that was always natural with him. This teacher was revered in my mind and in my heart in a way that I could not describe. But I later learned that this is the feeling of a disciple for the Guru. And I want to close with her description of Yogananda ji gave her a blessing. And then he welcomed her. And this is a later meeting that they had. And the advice that he gave her was, always keep your dignity and remember your power of thought and will. Always keep your dignity and remember your power of thought and will. Let us take it to heart. Om.